Welcome to this episode of Eureka Unto Sunset TV. Recently, the Government of India had announced a TB Mukt Bharat, tuberculosis eradication program. Tuberculosis has been one of the diseases which has been tormenting India for many years. And the year 2019, in India, we had close to about 74,000 people dying out of TB and about 24 lakh people affected by TB. In this episode, we are going to talk about tuberculosis disease, what's happening in this eradication program in India, and what is this ambitious program of tuberculosis-free India by 2025, which the Government of India had announced recently. To talk to us, we have a very special guest in this episode of Eureka, Dr. Dewan. He is from National Institute of Tuberculosis Research Center in Delhi. So thank you for being in this show. I mean, tuberculosis has been one disease. For example, if you look at films of 70s and 80s, that if you want to kill a heroine, for example, most likely you would ascribe the tuberculosis to that person. And then we presume that hardly there is a cure for it. So what is this tuberculosis? How dangerous is this disease?
You write it out about history. You see, many famous people in the early 19th century, probably from the Romantic movement, they died of tuberculosis. Famous musicians, poets, as well as writers, they died of tuberculosis. So it was called a romantic disease at that time, and it claimed very eminent personalities from the field of politics, governments, as literature. But the real thing is the Western world, as soon as the Second World War ended, because good anti-tubercular drugs were discovered, and the standard of living after the Second World War started dramatically improving in the Western world, so the incidence of tuberculosis declined dramatically.
Okay.
And after the Second World War, in 1950s itself, we had very good drugs against tuberculosis available, and a cure was possible in majority of the cases. And yet you see our films of 70s and 80s are still showing hero dying of or heroine dying of tuberculosis, because there's a problem in the operational and a management viewpoint with which we have dealt with this disease. Seriously, our efforts started taking place in 1990s when we had a revised National Tuberculosis Control Program. Tuberculosis is a chronic long-term disease. So its effect, it is not that we have not made progress. We have made sufficient progress in the last 20 years. And our efforts on this, in a scale in a country as big as India, have been quite successful, reasonably successful, yet much desires to be achieved. So as you rightly said, that in 2019, out of the 10.8 million people who developed tuberculosis in the entire world, 27% were in India.
Okay, 1/4 of tuberculosis patients are
burden is in India. And at that time, when the world decided to do sustainable developmental goals, we decided to end TB by 2030 and eliminate TB by 35. Actually, it doesn't mean, what it meant was that whatever was the incidence of TB in 2015 will bring about 80% reduction by 2030. That is called end-TB. And when we will bring out 90% reduction, that will be called eliminating TB.
Okay.
It's a technical definition. And in that, Prime Minister Modi in 2018 declared that we will end TB by 2025 rather than 2030. We will achieve those goals by 2030.
Okay.
And in terms of the government, it requires commitment to greater funds and political commitment to achieve those goals, and similarly implementation and a regular monitoring of the program.
Okay. See, this brings me to one question. What kind of disease is this tuberculosis? I mean, is it a viral? Is it a bacterial? What happens? I mean, how do you contract this disease? How does it develop in your body? What does it do in our body?
This also brings me to the history that why do we observe World TB Day on 24th of March? Because in 1882, on 24th March, Robert Koch, a general practitioner in Germany, discovered the bacteria. It's a bacterial disease.
Okay.
Bacterial diseases are also one common bacterial disease like pneumonia or say many diseases, throat infection, respiratory infections, diarrheal infections that we get. They're acute diseases. But this is a chronic bacteria which develops slowly once it enters through the lung zone. When somebody who is infected with tuberculosis, he coughs and it's a droplet infection.
Okay.
almost like COVID, it's a droplet infection. But though about COVID, we have yet to decide if it is a droplet infection or airborne infection. But consensus is that it's a droplet infection. That means somebody coughs, and within 5 feet of his cough, if somebody comes in contact, then he inhales those droplets which contain the tubercular bacteria. Okay. And that's how the bacteria gains entry into the lungs. And in majority of the cases, the immune process of the body takes care of the disease and it remains dormant in the body. Then at some times it can get reactivated and various forms of tuberculosis can develop, out of which the commonest form is the pulmonary tuberculosis. Then there is extra pulmonary tuberculosis, is tuberculosis of other organs of the body.
So when you say pulmonary tuberculosis, I mean it's a tuberculosis of lungs, right? Lungs. So COVID, for example, we know that once you contract, I mean it starts entering into the cells which are lining the inner side of lungs, and then start infecting it, and then by growing, it destroys those cells. So in a sense, one can say that the inner linings of our lungs are eroded because of the COVID disease. That's how
it is almost similar.
So what exactly happens?
It is almost similar, but COVID is an acute viral infection, while it's a chronic bacterial infection. And the inner lining alveolar cells of the lungs, they have a cell called macrophage, which ingests this tubercular bacteria and tries to control it. And then the body, various other cells come into that area, and that reaction produces various complex mechanisms. In fact, how the disease of tuberculosis develops is a pathophysiologically complex mechanism. So I don't think that's a very common layman subject. But that is why, in common terms, what is important is that majority of us are able to take care of the infection. But then the disease can resurface again, or in some of the people, it can take an acute to chronic form. And as you rightly mentioned, that disease is quite serious because it can involve a mortality also if left untreated. But
now when you say that dormancy, that brings in a new element. For example, COVID, we know that once you are cleared of the viral load, I mean, either because of your natural immunity or because of the treatment, most likely you are not going to get infected from outside. But whereas tuberculosis can lie in your body for a long time and suddenly surface, right?
Absolutely. Tuberculosis will resurface again, which is called reinfection. The secondary tuberculosis, or it's a reactivation of tuberculosis, which is the commonest form. Actually, what is generally presumed, though we cannot prove it 100%, that majority of the people living in countries like India, South Asia, or poorer, what we used to call a third world countries, majority of the people do get infected by tubercular bacteria by the age of 14 or young adulthood. And out of that, a certain people, whenever their body gets slightly weak or some other reason, the chips are down, they develop a full-fledged disease. And those, even when you have successfully dealt with the disease, anytime it can surface.
Okay. Yeah. So this brings me to another question, that what is the current level of treatment procedure? So in the sense that the death rate that was there in those times with the given medical facilities compared to today, I mean, how have we progressed?
See, nowadays, we have, if the bacteria, tubercular bacteria, is sensitive to the commonly available drugs, the cure rate is 85%.
Okay.
While we know that somebody in our consciousness, the word has come that there is a called multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, because the bacteria is not sensitive to the commonly available drugs when we used to use the reserved drugs. Even there, the success rate is up to 56%, and in extremely drug resistant cases, it is 38%. So hope is not lost. And there is a constant research going on and newer drugs are being added. That is why the world in 2015 thought that we can think of ending, because there is a concerted effort which is being.
So drugs are available. For example, about 100 years ago or even 60, 70 years ago, when TB was like a death penalty, it is no longer any such a death penalty today, right? I mean, it's a curable disease.
It's a curable disease. In fact, it is curable, and that is what its preventive mechanism is. Because this is, for instance, in some diseases like, say, measles, polio, we had a vaccine which could help us in eliminating.
Yeah.
But in tuberculosis, this thing will not work because we do not have an effective vaccine so far. But what we have is an early diagnosis and treatment. If we diagnose every sputum positive patient who can spread infection early and treat him or her completely, then the bacterial load in the community will come down, and then the disease will become.
Okay. So when you are talking about now detecting the tuberculosis, I mean, what is the most commonest method that we detect? What is the symptom? For example, how do I know perhaps that I have been contracted with tuberculosis, or maybe the dormant tuberculosis is becoming active? How do I know?
As far as pulmonary tuberculosis is concerned, any cough which is more than 2 weeks,
Okay.
fever, low-grade fever, especially coming in the evening and then followed by night sweats, weight loss, or chest pain. If these are the features, they are persisting for more than 2 weeks. You should not worry about within 3-4 days. There can be other diseases, but if it is persisting beyond 2 weeks, then one should seriously consider that it can be tuberculosis, and it needs investigation. And the investigation is based on the sputum which is coming out. We test the sputum. Up till recently, we were testing sputum smear examination, and we did have developed an elaborate mechanism of sputum smear centers all over the country. But because the technology is advancing and sputum smear examination used to take some time and used to require technical skills, we have an automatic molecular method called CBNAT.
Okay.
It's called Gene Expert. Now, which is a heavily, it is an expensive thing. Yet, Government of India has made it available almost at peripheral level, which can not only diagnose TB within 2 hours, which can also tell whether it is a sensitive TB or resistant.
Okay.
So this much commitment has been shown by the leadership, and that system is being developed. Despite our deficiencies and shortfalls and pitfalls that we have in our country, we have been able to reasonably successfully develop it all over the country.
Very nice. So let's elaborate a bit about this testing method that you said, that now we have a very most advanced cutting edge testing methodology using molecular basis. Can you describe to us how actually it works?
See, the patient gives the sputum, which is of course prepared a little bit by the technician by centrifuge and other things, and then fed into a particular cartridge. The cartridge is, and this cartridge will itself run on a particular machine, which will test the genetic structure of the organism. And if it conforms to the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it will tell it is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And there is a particular genetic mutant which is resistant to the commonly used drug called rifampicin. Then we call it a drug-resistant tuberculosis, or rifampicin-resistant tuberculosis. Of course, then we have to do further tests which are available to know which kind of drugs. It's called drug sensitivity testing. What are the drugs likely to be workable, suitable for this patient?
So this cartridge and then testing it in a machine is something very similar to
it's very user-friendly,
RT-PCR, right?
Yes, it's absolutely like RT-PCR, and it is very user-friendly. You don't require to train the technicians too intensively, though it requires a little bit of training. And
so then, not only that this test then tells you that you perhaps are contracting TB, but it is also able to distinguish between different varieties. So that different drugs can be, suitable drugs can be actually identified. Is that what you are saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Another advantage is that, you see, when I talked about TB of the lungs, there are TB of other organs like lymph nodes, bone, from where we get very little tissue. Suppose we put in a needle in which very few bacteria can be present. It can detect even smaller quantities of bacteria.
Okay.
So that is another.
Which means that earlier when you are using sputum for testing, many times maybe non-pulmonary TB is largely, missed, but here we won't miss it. That's what you are saying, right? Okay. So the current methodology for actually detecting that if we suspect that somebody is contracting TB is grown to an extent that we can actually do early detection. That's a situation that we are in terms of technology available in India.
But not only that, even this technology, a lot of effort is going on to refine it further. So for instance, that cartridge, we are trying to develop a cartridge which can detect sensitivity against all the available anti-tubercular drugs. And WHO is making a lot of effort which technology to be developed, and how much money to be allocated so that it may be reasonably inexpensive for poorer countries and may be made available in the most peripheral centers. That's the kind of effort which is going on.
Very nice. And we'll take a very short break. After the break, we'll continue, and we also will talk about what this disease can cause in our body. How does it cause death? That is number one. Number two, what efforts are we making in the last 50 years from India's independence? What kind of programs we have developed, and how this current program is poised to be a game changer in that, like polio was eradicated, this disease perhaps will be eradicated in the next few years from India. Keep watching Eureka. We'll take a very short break. Welcome back to Eureka. We are having a very wonderful conversation with Dr. Ravindra Kumar Dewan. He is the director of National Institute of Tuberculosis and Respiratory Disease, one of the key institution under ICMR, working to eradicate tuberculosis, which have been a major problem troubling India for many years. So before the break, we talked about how new technologies are emerging, and India is obtaining those technologies to make early detection. Suppose if somebody gets TB, what happens in that person's body? I mean, what organs get affected? What is the general disease progression? What exactly is something that we need to fear about?
You see, most commonly the disease affects the lungs, and the patient presents with cough with expectoration of sputum and sometimes blood. For instance, you talked earlier in the program about the Hindi film movies where the hero used to cough out a lot of blood and then die. So the hemoptysis is a very common symptom of tuberculosis because the tubercular bacteria erodes the lung and erodes the blood vessels which are passing through lungs, and they come out as blood in the sputum. So that is a very common symptom. Then fever, weight loss, and we used to call it Kshay Rog, wasting disease, because it used to waste away the body. Patient will chronically lose weight and slowly waste away. That is the mechanism of how with which it used to progress if left untreated. But with treatment, with that situation need not come. But treatment, because of the same reason, we have generally associated TB with disease of the poor. Because poor people are more likely to get it because of lack of nutrition and their body not being able to fight it. That, of course, does not mean that rich people cannot get it. Everybody and anybody can get it. But poor people have their own challenges. They live in overcrowded surroundings where they are more likely to contract the infection, and their bodies may be ill-equipped because of hard work, lesser food being available, to contract more severe forms of tuberculosis. That's why they take place. And it becomes a wasting disease over a process of time. And always people ask what kind of diet. We always say normal diet. As you used to take the same diet, you have to continue, but take it. Don't stop eating anything. And what in the program, for instance, there is a Nikshay Poshan Yojana. We know that those who are suffering from TB may not be earning their wages in those days. So Government of India through direct benefit transfer transfers 500 rupees to their accounts directly. So they can look after their nutrition. If they are proved to be tuberculosis cases under the program, they are committed to provide them 500 rupees per month to look after their nutrition till their treatment is completed.
Okay. So nutrition is one important thing that to keep watch. I mean, if you have contracted disease. The second is that one thing that people have been saying is that it's a treatment which requires very long duration. So which means that for a long time you have to visit hospitals, you have to get drugs, and you have to take the drugs without a break. And many people, because of their lifestyle, because of their remote living places, usually miss this, and that's how the treatment programs have not been very successful. Essentially because the patients are not able to adhere to the treatment procedures. That's one of the major opinions that have been there. What is our current situation there? I mean, have we been able to get new modes of treatments?
See, let us see it in perspective. When we had good anti-tuberculosis therapy available in 1950s, the treatment used to run to 18 months. While from 1990s onwards, it's just a 6 months treatment, 6 to 8 months maximum in most of the cases. So even that period is big enough, because what happens routinely, not because patient is not wanting to take drugs for 6 months. It is lack of education and lack of proper information being given to the patients. And majority of our patients seek behavior from private practitioners who, without telling good education of the patients, start the treatment. And within 2-3 weeks, now if with effective treatment, patient becomes virtually all right within 3 to 4 weeks. And then they leave their drugs if they are not properly told. And then the disease resurfaces in a more virulent form and a non-treatable form. So that has been the biggest challenge. So for instance, in 1990s in our institute, we did a study in which we found that 200 doctors in the nearby area of our institute, they were using 80 different methods of treating the disease.
Okay.
So this was as bad as that. Though there is a standardized 4 drugs regime which should be used for everybody. So the program, though the doctors are all trained, and yet because of various reasons, which is I think improper to go into here, that there 80 different regimens were being used. But slowly that has been taken care of, because as of now, what we give is we give a fixed drug combination. That means there are 4 drugs normally which are fixed. Drug combination is available, and for different weight bands, which has been fixed for up to 16 kilograms, 16 to 30 kilograms, 33 to 50 kilograms, this much capsules, and about 75 this many capsules. They have to be taken once a day only. Once a day only. Nothing complicated about taking the drugs, so that patient can understand it. Only thing has to be told that this disease is serious. Don't take it lightly. Please complete your course. Please come for follow-up. That's the message.
That's right, sir. That's a very important point to note, and I think we need to follow this procedure completely. Some of us also do this. I know. I mean, when doctors prescribe us antibiotics, we feel okay within 1 or 2 days, and then we think that we don't need to take the rest of the medicine. But you have to complete the course. I mean, that's a normal thing that one requires in this kind of situation.
The same thing in the context of tuberculosis, it is actually disastrous, because what happens is it's such a serious form of tuberculosis. Actually, my institute, TB Institute, is generally looking after complications of tuberculosis caused by this erratic and irresponsible behavior of the society. And we have a 500-bed hospital. Out of that, whatever cases we admit, up to 15% die because they come at this stage. And we have to, I'm myself not actually a TB specialist. I'm a thoracic surgeon, cardiothoracic surgeon, and we do complex surgeries for tuberculosis. Many people end up requiring complex surgeries on chest wall, chest as well as lungs. Sometimes entire lungs are diseased, they have to be removed. Many different kinds of surgical procedures, which are very rarely performed outside India, have to be performed in several number of cases in India. And they are very complex procedures. All these things are required just because we are not, I mean, as a society, though of course now our commitment and knowledge of awareness, especially for some celebrities like Amitabh Bachchan got it, so that has increased, that awareness has increased, and probably we are acting in a more concerted manner. And as Health Minister said on 24th, that Corona has also taught us that kind of a thing, that if we decide, we can do it. So we are probably more hopeful.
Yeah. So now let's come to this new program which have been launched, which will be one of the important initiative of your institute for coming years, along with others who are stakeholders in this particular program, called Tuberculosis Mukt Bharat.
TB Mukt.
I mean, we want to eradicate tuberculosis by 2025. So can you tell us what are the salient features of this program?
Number one, salient feature is, initially we actually decided in 2018, and the government of India committed, and that taking the program to all parts of the district and making this lab testing facility available to everybody, giving treatment to everybody, and as well as adding nutrition to everybody has already been ensured.
Okay.
Of course, during Corona epidemic, because of lockdowns and many things, it suffered a little setback. And we have come out of it already, because it was noted that in early 21, same kind of registrations were being done, which were being done in 2019. So the program has come back on track. Nevertheless, the challenges should not be underestimated, because India is a huge country. There are operational challenges to maintain these things, the supply chain of drugs, diagnostics, as well as follow-up of the treatment. In addition, the newer technology, for instance, there is a large component of the scheme called DOTS, Directly Observed Treatment Strategy. As you noted earlier, our patients take treatment, they get well, and they leave it.
Yeah.
So in 1990s, it was decided that we will monitor every dose which is given to the patient. So patients were asked to come to the health center, take the drugs under supervision of the healthcare worker, and then go. And if he is missing a dose, he or she is missing, then the worker would visit his home, what that he has taken. Now we are adding, because that is becoming slightly more operationally difficult, as well as newer technology like video technology. Cell phone is there in almost everybody. So you can say, okay, show me on cell phone, you have taken the dose. We are using those technologies. And in addition, because 80% of the population still uses private system for treatment. So private practitioners have been roped in as a private, public-private partnership model, in which if you treat a tuberculosis patient, please notify it to the system. The system will provide free drugs to the patient. And will give you some remuneration also, which you did not take from the patient. Of course, it will not as much as the private doctors hefty fees, but if something is being ensured by the government, please treat TB patients free of cost, whether they come to the private sector or to the government sector.
So these are some of the important factors which are possible in the current condition to ensure that the TB is eradicated.
These are one aspect. Second aspect is committing a lot of money to research in developing newer drugs which are effective against every multi-drug resistant case. Some vaccines may be developed, some better method of diagnosis. For instance, we are still dependent on CBNet, but that requires a sputum which contains tuberculosis bacteria. We can also we are also thinking of developing a blood test. Just like if that blood test is positive, that means patient has active tuberculosis. So those areas are also being worked upon. research, and then political commitment to continue the funding till this is eradicated. This is an important part of the program.
So this brings in a very last question that see, when we talk about a viral disease like, let's say, polio, when we talk about eradicating polio is transmitted from human to human, maybe through some vector in between, but human host is required for the polio to survive. But and if you treat almost all polio patients, then the possibility of polio existing in a community becomes near zero. But when you talk about a bacterial disease like tuberculosis, I mean, treating patient is important. I mean, reaching out to patient, ensuring that they survive is important. But with this, how do we say that we can eradicate in the same manner like we talk about eradication of polio or other such viral diseases?
I correct you there. In polio, the strategy was we had a vaccine, oral polio vaccine, which will, even if the person gets the virus infection, will not develop the disease.
Yeah.
Well, for tuberculosis, we have a vaccine called BCG, but it is not able to ensure that you do not develop TB. What BCG does is only that serious forms of tuberculosis in children less than 5 years are avoided. We are yet to have a good vaccine for tuberculosis. So for polio, we had a primary prevention in the form of a vaccine available. Well, for TB, we do not have a primary form of vaccine available as of now. We want a secondary. That's why the only hope we have is that we remove the bacterial load from the community by treating all those cases who are having tuberculosis, who can be spreaders. So that is the difference between them. So that is the strategy with which the world is working upon. And that's why you see the definition of ending TB is also different. In polio, we declared India to be polio free when there was not a single child reported to be suffering from polio for so many 1 year. While for tuberculosis, we declare India to have ended TB when the incidence of TB comes down by 80% from the incidence level in 2015. Because it's a chronic disease. So technically, the experts have sat down. That's why that kind of a thing is decided.
That's a very interesting and important point for us to note that it's a chronic disease, so it's going to linger. But as much as population as possible, that we should keep out of falling into that trap. So last word on this TB Mukt Bharat 2025. So what do you think we can expect? What is it that is rolling out right now?
As the Honorable Health Minister said, that it is doable, and most of us feel it is doable. But the kind of commitment and sustained commitment it requires, it makes all of us slightly skeptical. It is only, as he said, only from 21. This is 3 years. So many months are left when we reach 1st January 2025, and we still have a large number of cases. The reductions which have been achieved from 2018 to now have been in the range of only 2% to 3%, which will not be sufficient to achieve this goal with time. But unless we do it, so what we are hoping for is that the message reaches far and wide, and public as well as doctors adhere to what is prescribed in the program. And then every patient is a patient-centric approach. You should not think just because it's a community program, a single patient does not matter. Every single patient has to be given the same attention as the entire community. We treat him or her completely, support him or her completely, because it is also a vicious circle of poverty. A young wage earner suffers tuberculosis, is not able to earn, the family suffers, then a vicious circle of poverty begins again. Family goes back into the trap of poverty. So that's why it's very important. There is hope, there is skepticism, both the things are present. Yet it's a doable target because of the technology and drugs being available.
Yeah.
And in that program on 24th, we noted that Government of India already achieved this program in one union territory, that is Lakshadweep, and Badgaon district of Jammu and Kashmir. The two areas have actually achieved the target of reducing their incidence by 80%.
And where is the rest of the country is? I mean, like those two areas, we have almost achieved the target. So where are the rest of the countries?
Rest of the countries, you see, some districts, almost none of the states they had given gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal for 80% reduction, 60 to 80% reduction, 40 to 60% reduction, 20 to 40% reduction respectively. None of the states or union territories have achieved any of those. But there were several districts, 32 or 34 districts, which could achieve those targets in various ranges. Mm-hmm. We are making the progress. In a disease like tuberculosis, we actually expect only this slow progress. But if the commitment level increases further, there will be an exponential effect and accelerated progress. towards achieving this.
So thank you for being in the show. It was a very wonderful opportunity to listen from you. The programs that the government of India has launched to make India free from tuberculosis by 2025. And also the importance of public being aware and patients being aware and private doctors being aware that how to treat tuberculosis, and it has to be done on a sustained basis. Thank you for being in the show. Keep watching Eureka. We'll come back with another episode, same time next week. This is thanks from Sunset TV.
Thank you.
Thank you.